So, Vic, if there was one thing you would change about healthcare to make it safer, what would it be?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of times in healthcare risk management and quality improvement efforts, we forget about the day-to-day things that can have the biggest impact in the lives of the people that we serve, but also in our employees' lives who are actually charged with the responsibility of providing these services. So if I could change one thing in healthcare, I think that thing that could have the biggest impact is the staffing and scheduling programs, because without continuity in those programs, it's difficult to achieve quality of care.
Now, what makes you say that? Would you mind elaborating a little?
I'd love to. So many times when when staff persons or supervisors are concerned about whether people are going to show up, who's going to show up, are we going to be able to put the staff that we need to care for the residents, patients, or clients on the floor, it can be a huge distraction. And so when we start to see breakdowns in those day-to-day systems, we tend to see that impact things like patient safety and the quality of care that's provided as well.
Right, right. I mean, it can be very complex to all of a sudden have to deal with a sudden staff sick day or more coverage needed in a certain area.
Absolutely, and sometimes we end up focusing on the person more than the system behind the scenes. So if we can actually do a little bit of investigation and move past a person's behavior into the system to make sure there's depth in staffing, people have been cross-trained in a way that allows you to move staff across units safely. I know we like to focus on agency use a lot, but there's so many other components that go into healthy staffing and scheduling program in a healthcare provider.
Now, let's talk about cross-training for a minute. I mean, obviously, that's not something that should be done at the last minute, but often it can be hard to fit that into a schedule that's already very tightly packed.
That's an excellent point. It does take time and it takes planning and a strong commitment in an organization's culture of safety. But if you don't do it, you end up having a lot of indirect problems as well. Because as staff morale changes or as staffing problems occur, that also impacts the daily flow of care. So hopefully by doing those things beforehand, it communicates to the people that you serve and your employees that staffing and scheduling is important.
And how would you recommend sort of beginning to go through a review of staffing levels and staff ratios?
That's a great question. A lot of times when we start by defining a scope of service in healthcare or a particular unit or a level of care, then we can start to back into the number of staff it actually takes to provide the services that we want to provide, the training that's needed, the education and skill set that's required. These are all major components that go far beyond that regulatory focus of a staffing ratio that so many times we focus on what's been budgeted and not necessarily do we have the depth in our program to achieve that budgeted ratio on a daily basis.